I also do caution people against spiritual bypass, which is blaming everything on spiritual issues. You don't want to do that as well, because that's
Right.
real. And then I'll show them things like, to be honest, everything at some level is related to spiritual darkness and fall, but that doesn't mean the answer is always the same for how it's dealt with. Jesus didn't always heal in the exact same ways. So we don't always do that either. I'm also not against medication. I'm not against, obviously, counseling and other types of things. I think the important thing to note that we've gotten away from is that there is a force of darkness trying to steal, kill, and destroy. And a lot of times it does look like, sexual darkness, or it looks like things that you don't want to acknowledge that are there. It can look like trauma.
Yeah. I think of all of my listeners who have gone through betrayal, and I think that so many of them are at a point in their life where it's never been clearer how intensively the enemy has been working to steal, kill, and destroy, because it feels like their whole marriage, their whole life, the foundation of what they thought their relationship was and everything they've built their life upon has been destroyed. So specifically with that audience in mind, Natalie, what would you say to a person who's reeling from having experienced that steal, kill, and destroy, and they're the one that's laying in the rubble? When it comes to addressing this from a spiritual warfare and deliverance standpoint, what are your thoughts? What would you say?
Well, I would say number one, the people that I have dealt with who are experiencing that are some of the most precious people you would ever meet.
Yeah.
And it almost makes me, I'm like, every single time, because it's the most precious person. Lots of time it's people, it could be people in ministry, it could be people who have the biggest hearts. And you're like, how could that person betray this person?
Yeah.
And it's because the enemy goes hard after those who are seeking after him, who are trying, and maybe there was so much potential for goodness within that marriage, or it was really good at a certain time. And I think those people often struggle to believe the lie of the enemy that they should have done something differently, or it was their fault, or all those things. Like, what did I do? And I've heard that in some of the strongest believers, and I'm like, whoa, you were never perfect. You were not supposed to be a perfect spouse, but this is not on you.
Nope.
Just like
I
it's not your job to save their soul either. So that's
yeah.
one of the biggest lies. And that's one that a lot of people have to overcome when they come into counseling after that. There's a lot of self-hatred in that too. Like, they almost always, what could I have done differently?
I know. It's so sad. And of course, we know that Satan is an accuser, right? So
Exactly.
when we're at our lowest, when we're at our weakest and our most vulnerable, for him to come after us with a huge accusation like that is not surprising.
Mhm.
Um,
When in
it's,
reality, a lot of times they've done everything they possibly could do.
yep.
They've prayed every prayer. They
Mhm.
have been faithful. They have done all the things that God would honor and say, well done. And it's just simply on that other person who's being attacked and who's giving into their own selfish, sinful natures.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's heartbreaking.
It really is. It is extremely traumatic.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think knowing that, like for believers, the enemy really does, there's specific ways he attacks you. It's through temptations, it's through the accusations, like you're saying, infirmity, a lot of times, and
Yeah.
oppression. And if you know those things, like praying against that, and then
Mhm.
trusting that God's sovereign, that even if this has been allowed in your life, like He's not done with you, that there's beautiful things that can come from ashes. And I do talk about spiritual darkness and the forces out there, and they're very powerful, but we serve a God who's more powerful. He can help you overcome that. He can help you find healing and restoration. And
That is so hopeful.